Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are across this great wide world of ours. I haven't done a video in a while concerning Native Americans and that we had defund the the BIA, Bureau of Indian Affairs. You know, we've had a lot of talk about the Doge and how it can save money, and you know, I'm under the impression, and I reached out to Elon when he first, and though I did not get a response, but that's okay. But and I did write off to a couple of congressmen as well as senators concerning that I believe that we should get defund the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and that would be one way to save money. And it just and the issue for me on that becomes down to the issue now that we're talking about this great big beautiful bill, and I when I was thinking about that today, it's like people are talking about, well, wealth, that some people would lose Medicaid benefits and other issues. If we would defund the BIA, Bureau of Indian Affairs, there would be probably money in that, and then turn that over. First off, turn that over to the states where these many of these tribes, and then have the leadership within these tribes uh, do it in empowerment and not necessarily the government. It behooves me, or I just baffles me to no end. I agree on, well, I don't agree, but I understand the principle that John C. Calhoun did in the 1830s is establish the Bureau of Indian Affairs because they're moving Native Americans off their land and moving them westward so they could take the land for agriculture. And predominantly, a lot of this happened in the South, and we know what in the 1800s, 17th, 18th century, early 19th century, a lot of this was slave labor. And for the most part, I would agree or argue that even under Jim Crow laws, this also became an issue, that it became slave labor because really a lot of the African Americans didn't have the resources to have what it was the old saying, 40 acres and 40 acres, a mule and a plow. So, and didn't have the means to do agriculture down in the South. And the issue for me becomes that goes back to the emphasis, the BIA. And when we talk about the BIA, we're just talking about an archaic, antiquated system that really we don't, when it was set up. I mean, the other day I heard the most obscene thing where the president said, I'm going to take the funding away from the Washington. I don't know what they call themselves now, but until they call themselves the Redskins, and then he was talking about the Cleveland Indians, and he goes off on a rampage about Indians. They're really not Indians, and Indians are in India, and the and the point that I always contend about that is that the name came from Christopher Columbus because he had thought he landed in India, and that's how the name developed, called Indians. And I'm not laughing about it, but I'm laughing about the concept that this is an antiquated system that we are using to take people and move them in a system that they didn't ask to be in, and actually most of them are isolated on land that can't be used, or land that can is not available. So what the issue becomes is when we start looking at this is what do we do to move things in a different direction that can empower more Native Americans, indigenous people, not only in the United States, but we got indigenous people, for instance, like in Australia and other areas of like Asia, where they're from that area, and you know we should be the leader of the free world. And then like I said, and it goes back to my other video that I made about moral aptitude. Should we be the leader in this world and dictate, or not dictate, but follow what helps people better their lives? And that's the issue that America was based on, is that anybody can become rich, and anybody can develop a system of wealth by just hard work and being fortitude and being persistent. And then sometimes I even see myself where I see this issue of the I don't know what you want to call it, getting rid of the BIA or defunding the BIA is probably the best way to do it. It goes on, no ears, but the point that I want to make about it is the issue becomes, I think Robert Kennedy, or I believe said it, or John F. Kennedy, I'm not quite sure which one, has said it, that all it takes is one person to make a change. And then that even goes back to Lincoln when he met Harriet Beecher Stowe, and he looked at her, well, you're the young lady, that created, the Civil War, because it was just, all it took is one person. And then, like I said, all it takes is one person to make a change. And exactly what, for instance, John C. Calhoun made a change, but that change was negative to the Native American population, and well, to the African American population, because it was based on slave labor. His emphasis was on free slave labor and not necessarily on industrialization and on people getting a fair wage for fair work, and that becomes an issue in itself. And this is not this video, but this is more or less on defunding the BI. Anyway, folks, please like and subscribe to my videos. Try to be more upfront and more in tune about making more videos, and hopefully sometime early next week I'll post a new video. Anyway, talk to you real soon. Have a great day. Bye.